Hey there, welcome to episode 97, which is a Girl Take the Lead soundbite. A soundbite is a short episode that may be a bit more about a topic we've covered, like our episode today, or a quick inspiration. Today's episode builds on episode 96, where we explored the life of Dolores Huerta and her contribution to the labor movement in the U.S. You may remember from that episode that Dolores was Cesar Chavez's partner in improving the lives of thousands of migrant workers. Today we'll talk about Helen Chavez, Cesar's wife. She was an underrated leader in her own right, so let's put the spotlight on her. Let's get started. Let's say your husband or partner comes home, says he wants to move from East LA, where he's had a steady job for a number of years as National Director of the Community Service Organization, and he wants to move to Delano to organize the farm workers. You've got about $1,200 in the bank that won't last 6 months, and more importantly, there are 8 children, the oldest 13, and the 2 youngest only 4 and 2.5. What would you say? Here's what Helen Chavez told her husband. I'm willing to stick it out for 10 years and really give it a trial. If it doesn't work, we can figure out something else. Okay, Helen, man, setting boundaries. You go, girl. Helen met Cesar when she was around 14 or 15, when she was going to Delano High School. Both her parents were born in Mexico, and her father fought in the Revolution. Helen was born in Brawley, which is on the California-Mexico border, and raised in Delano, which is Central California. For many years, she lived on a ranch in McFarland, which is not far from Delano. McFarland may sound familiar to you if you're a Kevin Costner fan. Remember, he had a movie about the true story of the 1987 cross-country team from a mainly Latino high school who go on to win a state championship? So on this McFarland ranch, Helen's mother and father did field work. They chopped cotton or did whatever work there was. And Helen started working in the fields when she was only 14. Now here's a sweet story about Helen meeting Cesar. Cesar would migrate and come to Delano every year. And one day she was eating a snow cone at a shop and listening to music when he came in with some other people. And that's when she first met him. Soon after his World War II service in the United States Navy, in 1945, he began spending more time with her. And in 1948, they married when Cesar was 21 years old and Helen 20 years old. Because Cesar was the kind of guy to help anyone, including families in need, Helen said this. Look, I'm going to have a rule here. I want to be part of the decision making. There you go. Another boundary. Helen, like Cesar, came from a family of farm workers. They were both farm workers themselves, their parents, and their whole families. She never doubted he would succeed. And you know, when they moved, they didn't have any income. But it didn't worry her. It didn't frighten her. She figured they'd manage some way as long as one of them was able to work. To help make ends meet, Helen returned to the Delano fields, where she picked grapes to support the family during the early years. Sometimes during those early years, Cesar would return home to Delano after days on the road feeling alone and demoralized, not having anyone recruited into the new union. And she would encourage him, saying, Cesar, you have to have faith in God that what you're doing is right. In September 1965, for instance, Helen quickly and quietly settled the question of whether or not the Young United Farm Workers Union should join a grape workers' strike begun by a largely Filipino union with the simple question, are we a union or not? During the strike, Helen took over management of the Farm Workers Credit Union and worked full-time at the union office while maintaining a home life. She continued serving the farm workers movement for decades. She was arrested 4 times And in the movie Cesar Chavez, directed by Diego Luna, there's this great scene about the injunction against mass picketing or saying the word huelga, which means strike. And as the team discussed who would lead the effort to violate the injunction and fill the jails with grape workers, Helen, played by America Ferrera, she's so good, she said she'd do it. And Cesar, played by Michael Pena, said no. Who will take care of the kids? And she said, the kids are old enough to take care of themselves. And he says no. And she responds with, well, you're the one who says we can't ask our members to do things we're not willing to do ourselves. So Helen proceeds to the strike, is arrested for saying, huelga, huelga, huelga. And others follow her to carry on the chant and end up in jail as well. And after, there's this great scene where she's telling Cesar about being in jail and that it was simply amazing. She met so many wonderful people. She was also a mama bear for her kids, boy. Fernando, Helen's oldest, and was being harassed at school. He was in high school and getting beaten up by the grape-growing bullies. Cesar would have talks about him, about always having a choice to be nonviolent or not. And in one scene, you see Helen running in the house, grabbing a bat, running back outside with Cesar, asking her, what's going on? And she responds, doing what should have been done long ago, standing up for our son. And you see her taking on a full car of high school bullies. Oh, yeah. I could relate to her. I would want to do the same thing. Forget about nonviolence. Okay, so let's look at this. So let's say your husband or partner says, okay, I'm going to stop eating until such time as everyone in the strike either ignored me or made up their minds that they are not going to be committing violence. Here's what Helen did. She told Cesar he was crazy and nobody would appreciate what he was doing, and asked him, what about the family? Don't you think that we count? After arguing a bit and realizing he was serious, she said, well, I should know when you make your mind up, you're stubborn. Nothing will change it. I might as well as just go along with it. But remember, I don't like the whole idea. I think it's ridiculous. I love it when she's so honest. She was just afraid, right? She was afraid he'd die because of the fast. And there's something else about Helen I could totally relate to. Reminding Cesar about the family, like when their oldest daughter was getting married. She reminded him every single day for 2 months not to forget. She'd leave notes saying, just making sure. And he did manage to walk their daughter down the aisle before he got pulled into something in the reception. And what a sense of humor she had. Once, when told they were going into a fight with some growers after the grape strike, Helen said quietly, we've been in a fight for 5 years. We're so used to fights that if we weren't in one, we wouldn't know what to do. And when Cesar was going to the UK to meet with union leaders to boycott grapes that Nixon was sending there to support the growers, as he was packing to go, someone said that they'd heard the food wasn't good there. And Helen says, I don't care how bad the food is there. You're not starting another fast. Here's something really sweet that Cesar recalled about when Helen was around. He said, I can rest when she's around. It's a strange thing. I don't tell her I want her to help me, but if I ask her, she never tells me what to do. But she forces me to say what I want to say. There's one other scene from the movie to tell you about, and that was at the very end when Cesar sends his son Fernando. Over the years, they'd become estranged, and Fernando lived with his grandparents. But here's what Cesar said, and I share it because I think It must have made Helen very happy. I know there's no way to justify the things that I've done or have not done for you, and it saddens me to think we never got a chance to go fishing together or catch a baseball game or even go watch a movie. There's no way to turn back the clock and to make up for lost time. But I want you to know that your mother and I miss you very much, Fernando. It seems so ironic to think that I tried to do things my father could never do for us. I'm now so distant from you. Please know that the day you came into the world was the day that I received the clarity that I so desperately needed. You and your brothers and sisters are the purpose for my struggle. Everything I do is for you, and I hope you remember that. I also hope that one day you can be as proud of me as I am of you. Helen died June 6th, 2016. She was 88 years old. She was not a fan of the spotlight, but played a critical role in organizing farm workers. The UFW aptly stated that Helen's consistent humility, selflessness, quiet heroism, and fiery perseverance were at the heart of the movement she helped build. And on that note, we'll end today's episode. Thank you for being here. Please join us at our Girl Take the Lead Facebook group. Visit our girltaketheleadpod.com website or check out our new Girl Take the Lead YouTube soundbite videos. On Tuesday, we'll be posting a Girl Take the Lead interview with Meenakshi Sinha, author of A Daughter is Special. And it's all about the letters her mother sent her from India while she was studying in the U.S. for her doctorate in economics. They're kind of like the letter Cesar sent Fernando. Hope you'll join us for that. And talk to you soon. Bye.